So, you want to be a Call of Duty master, do you? Well, look no further, because I'm going to give you possibly the best tips that you'll ever hear. What's up guys, it's Average Ol, making average content for the average viewer. It's here. It's finally bloody here. After all the hype and all the fuss over the last few months, we have finally been graced with the beauty, the wonder that is Modern Warfare. And I have been absolutely loving it so far. However, the game plays very different than the past few iterations of the series, and as such it can be much harder to get to grips with it at first. So, I have come up with a foolproof, concrete fucking plan, a system that will get you to be the GOAT that you deserve to be. And I call this system the Average System. Now I know what you're thinking, but Average Ol, how do you come up with this sort of original and greatly beneficial content? And to you I say, I guess it's just a gift. So let's get into it. A. Assert dominance. So a massive thing in any type of competition is to get inside your opponent's head. Now, luckily for us, in Modern Warfare, we have the return of a really active game chat. Not only that, but with the addition of crossplay in the game, we can even stir up some console wars. Now, this gives you the opportunity to really get inside these guys' head, and if it's done right, the battle's half won before you've even begun. Now, what you don't want to do is be toxic and aggressive in the chat, because this makes people angry, and at the end of the day it's just shit for the community and you look like a bellend. Instead, I'm going to want you guys to get really weird with it. For example, there is a chance that someone might call you a homophobic slur in the pre-game lobby, to which I suggest you respond with a simple yet effective, "Yeah? Well, I'd suck you off." Or if they say something referencing sexual relations to your mother, you respond, "Oh yeah, that sounds lush mate. Do you mind if I watch?" This will really knock them for six, and they'll be so head-fucked by this that when the game starts, they won't even be concentrating, and as a result, you can make like the mountain shagging Bridget the Midget. You'll crush them. Okay, so that one was obviously a little bit silly, so I'll change it up a bit with the next one. B. Variety. Variety is the spice of life, but more to the point, not every gun is going to be suitable for every map and every playstyle, because the 6v6 and the 10v10 modes are all grouped together. The chances are that running a setup for Gunrunner, say an MP5 class that relies on quick reflexes, isn't going to be suitable for a map such as Euphrates Bridge. Chances are if you're running around an open map like that with an SMG, you're going to get taken out quicker than a bloke with a chronic masturbation problems tackle in a back alley strip club. So I suggest that you set up a class for both a long range, like the Kilo 141 or the M4A1, and a short range class as well. This gives you the ability to change on the fly and leave your options open. It is worth noting on this point though, that with Modern Warfare, you can actually change your class mid-match. So you do have that option, but it's always worth setting up beforehand so that you can make the most out of your gameplay time. Before we go on, I'd just like to say that if you're enjoying this video and want to see more Modern Warfare content, then I'd love it if you subscribed and smash that little notification bell so you don't miss out on any of these frankly invaluable tips. Also, let's see if we can hit that 69 likes on this bad boy. Right, next up is E, enemy spawns. Now, learning the enemy spawns has always been a crucial tactic in Call of Duty, but even more so with Modern Warfare. In my experience, the spawns have seemed to flip fairly easy, and on top of this, there are a lot more mid-map spawns. For the past few years, COD has stuck almost exclusively to map styles that are strict 3 lanes, and for the most part, pretty symmetrical. Now this means that you don't have to learn the maps as in-depth because every map you play essentially feels the same. You know that the spawns are either going to be at the one end or the other, with the exception of if your team has pushed into the enemy spawn too far, then they will spawn on the outer lanes. But on the whole, it's fairly easy to predict where the enemy is. This means that on a neurological level, the part of your brain known as the hippocampus takes over. This part of the brain is responsible for your autopilot system, if you like. You know when you drive home from work or walk home from work, whatever you do, and when you get back, you realise that you can't fucking remember the journey at all. This is because the route was so familiar to you that the hippocampus has just made you shut off to it. And the same can be said for COD to a lesser extent. Sorry, fuck, that was boring. I sent myself to sleep a bit. I just had to flex that useless bit of education. But you get my point. Modern Warfare maps are a lot less linear, so you have to be much more aware, or else you'll get caught out worse than the football dad who thinks that no one can see his eyes behind those black sunglasses, but everyone can see him checking out that recently divorced mum who paid for her implants out of her settlement. You aren't hiding anything, Paul. Rank. So, it goes without saying that in order to unlock a lot of the guns that you'll want to use and the best perks, you're going to want to work your way through the ranks as quick as possible. Now obviously, you could go out and buy 100 weight of Mountain Dew and Doritos, but if you're anything like me and you don't feel like shitting through the eye of a needle for the next month, I have a few simple tips. I will go into more detail about this in a future video, but for now I just want to give you a brief overview. So, from what I've seen so far, the absolute best way to level up quick is to focus on multiplayer. Now I know that sounds obvious, but before release it did seem like you might be able to farm XP and Spec Ops in the campaign. Now, I could be completely wrong about this, but for me it seems that the XP gained from doing this is no way near as much as it is in multiplayer. However, you do have to play it smart in order to maximise the most out of your playtime. So I found the best way to earn a lot of XP is to use a few different weapons and use them in the situations that are best for them. Like I said earlier, the temptation is to just pile your hours and grind away at one weapon at a time to get it up the ranks. But this is counterintuitive really, because if you are levelling up a couple of guns in tandem with one another, then you'll be getting more XP as well as doing much better in the matches, which will obviously in turn grant you more XP again. Now on top of this, it's very important to concentrate on the challenges. Every gun has over 100 camos, and guys, what do you think you get when you unlock one? That's right, juicy XP. But in addition to this, there are also a shit ton of missions and challenges and daily challenges that earn you XP too, as well as calling cards and weapon skins. So honestly, it is really worth your time. Right, let's move on with another A. Aggression. The run and gun style of Days Gone has long since passed, and now we have been left with a Call of Duty that requires a lot more patience and tactics. That's not to say that you can't play aggressively at all, it's just that you have to adopt more of a passive aggressive style, if you get my meaning. I actually made a whole video on this back in the beta, so I'll drop that down in the description below. Moving on, we have G. Right, this one is super crucial to you becoming a better player, and that is grafting. The thing is, you can sit here listening to 100 different YouTubers all saying the same thing, but the reality of it is you will only get better if you put the time in and work at it. Rome wasn't built in a day, and neither will your glowing 3.5 KD. The best thing you can do is really think about each death you take and then think, how could it have been avoided? For example, if you find you're losing gunfights a lot, then hop into some 2v2 and get confident at winning some 1v1s and some 2v1s, and I promise that will build your confidence so much more than just sitting there and watching YouTube videos. I know it's counterproductive to my cause, but let's be honest, my videos are more just having a laugh with you guys with some tips sprinkled on the top for good measure, rather than a super serious guide. So yeah, practice, get good. And finally, we have the last E, and that is, drumroll please, enjoy. Now I know what you're thinking, I can't come up with anything better and I'm too lazy, and to be honest, if you really think that, well, you'd be dead right. I need to get this done so I can get my fix of the crack that Modern Warfare is surely going to become for me. But I guess this point does carry some weight, because at the end of the day, if you aren't enjoying the grind, then what's the point in playing? Make sure that even the games you lose are still fun, otherwise the whole exercise is pointless. I reckon that sums it up for this little installment, but fear not, I'll be back in the next couple of days with some more Modern Warfare content. It would be wicked if we could get some comments from you guys suggesting the types of videos on COD you'd like to see. I'd be up for doing anything really. Failing that, you can always message me on Twitter. My Twitter handle is @AverageOlGaming. Anyway, that's it from me today. I'm Average Ol. Peace.